Punchline Episode 2 Anime Review. I will say this episode wasn't what I expected after that first episode last week. Because last week, I was drawn into the world, the comedy, the atmosphere, the art style, even the fan service. I was drawn into the series, and I wanted to see where the story was going to go. But with this episode of Punchline, the story kind of takes a backseat, and mainly this episode was to serve characterization for Ito and mainly comedy. That's kind of what this episode was, and so I don't really know how I should feel about this episode because it was good. Like, I want to say right now, I enjoyed the episode, but personally, I wanted more of the story to progress, or a coherent story that continued on after what the last episode left us with, because there was quite a bit of information, different things that was setting up in last week's episode that made me want to see where the story was going to go, and I'm slightly disappointed with this episode when it comes to the terms of the story progression. But besides that, the episode was pretty fun. Like, the comedy-wise, now, it just depends on the type of comedy you like. I like the comedy for the most part. It wasn't the best thing when it comes to comedy I've ever seen. I personally prefer Nani's comedy, but the comedy of this was pretty enjoyable, and the way the art style was done with the atmosphere of it, I feel like it made the comedy so much better. If it wasn't for the art style and the camera angles, especially the way they used the fan service, I don't think this episode would have been as good, especially since it was just a comedy-orientated episode. So I felt like the way Studio Mappa decided to do some elements of this episode, they did a good job with what they had. But the thing I wonder right now is this how the story is going to be? Like, is it going to have maybe 10 episodes of comedy, and then it's going to have like maybe 3 or 4 episodes of serious plot progression? Because I hope it's not going to lead down that path, because I mean, I'm fine, I'm all for a comedy anime or comedy series with some fan service sometimes here and there, but mainly the way the premise, the way this set up with the first episode, it was very misleading for a lot of watchers if it does go down this path, so we'll have to see where it goes next week. But overall, with this episode, there was some certain comedy elements that I did enjoy and I had a good fun time watching, especially when it came to the fucking cat porn video. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, last week, I forgot to mention it because it was just so off the wall. I zoned that shit out. I repressed that thought from my mind. And then I see it once again, and I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta say something about it. So, this cat is just a straight up pervert. Like, what the fuck is with this cat? Like, this cat's talking about opie, like, opie, opie, opie. And then, you know, you see him click on a video, like a YouTube video, and you see, like, cat porn going on. And I'm like, fuck am I watching? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's so out there, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I'm just wondering, like, what the hell is that cat? Is that cat really a cat, or is it a human that was trapped in the cat's body? I'm like, I want to fucking know. I really want to know. But that's for a question in another video later on. The thing is, though, there was a comedy segment that was used in this episode 3 times. I think it was used 3 times, and it can get quite stale because it was used over and over. Let me mention the comedy they used. The cheermancy dance and song they were using, like when they were singing that song and they were dancing with that pigeon hat on, or the rooster hat, at the end of the episode. Well, that song was used 3 times, and I mean, it was funny. It was funny listening to, and I laughed my ass off when I saw the weird situation there when they had the mask on, they were just dancing and all that, but they used it 3 times. I just hope that this sort of comedy with this cheermancy and this dance doesn't become a reoccurring thing, because if it does, it's going to kill the comedy or the joy out of that segment, because if you reuse the same exact joke over and over and over again, like let's say I was to say the exact same joke every single time I'm speaking, that would get very dull, like, fast. Everybody would be like, what the fuck, I'm tired of this joke, like, you keep using it and so forth, so on, and so, yeah, I just hope they don't use this dancing cheermancy joke every single episode, because it will get stale very fast. It will, because by the 3rd time of this episode, it wasn't having the exact same luster as it had with the first time we saw it. The first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell? And then the 3rd time, I'm like, okay, you just do your little dance, and then the episode ends. So that's pretty much it. Also, our main male character upgrades. He upgrades and he can use his little spiritual powers a little bit better. And also, on top of that, Cinnamon helps him. And I'm glad the character pointed out that that premise was very fucking random, because if he didn't, I was going to just, like, Because that cinnamon upping the spiritual powers of spirits, where the fuck did that come from? Like, that just came out of nowhere. I'm like... So, yeah, I mean, it was an episode of Punchline. It was nothing amazing, but it was enjoyable. We'll have to see how it goes next week. Next week is the 3rd episode, so hopefully it will do something more with the plot. I have faith in Studio Mappa, though, since they have made quite a few good anime. They also made Zenkill no Terror, so hopefully they do something very good next week. So tell me your thoughts. How did you feel about this episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? I love you all so much. Please be safe. Chibi out.